Thanks, John. John didn't tell you that as he's had his internship at Secular Student Alliance this summer. We share offices, Camp Quest and Secular Student Alliance. I forced him at the AHA convention to buy a swimming suit so that he could go swimming at the convention. He's issued me an invoice for this, so I appreciate the nice introduction, John. All right, so I'm the executive director of Camp Quest. I've built this talk kind of around the basic questions they teach you to ask in English class or that reporters ask. So the first question is who? Who are we? So this is our mission. The purpose of Camp Quest is to provide the children of free-thinking parents a residential summer camp dedicated to improving the human condition through rational inquiry, critical and creative thinking, the scientific method, self-respect, ethics, competency, democracy, free speech, and the separation of religion and government. This may sound like a pretty tall order. I'm going to get into a little bit how we go about doing that. But I also want to point out one key thing here. We say here that children of free-thinking parents, we don't label the campers who come to Camp Quest with a worldview. If they select a worldview label for themselves, that's fine. But we're not saying the campers at Camp Quest are atheists. They may be, they may not be. Their positions may change as they grow up, one way or the other. We want to provide a place where they can learn how to think, not where we tell them what to think. And that's kind of reflected there in our mission statement. The next question is who we serve. So we're the first residential summer camp in the history of the United States aimed at children of the kind of non-theist community writ large. And Camp Quest started in 1996. Edwin Kagan and his wife Helen over there were the co-founders of Camp Quest, and they were camp directors for the first 10 years of the Ohio camp. In the first year we had 20 campers met at the Bulletsburg Baptist Church camp in Kentucky, I kid you not. And now we've grown to have 8 different locations. We're probably going to have about 250 kids pass through our programs in 2009. So we're really excited about seeing that growth over the last several years. So that is who we serve. So the next question is what? What do we do? We serve this population, we get them to camp, what do we do with them? I'd like to talk about the 3 F's of Camp Quest. So the first one is fun. And this is really, really important. Summer camp is about fun. Summer camp is not about sitting and being lectured to. Summer camp is about going swimming. It's about going hiking. It's about roasting s'mores around the campfire. And we want to provide all of those traditional summer camp activities that you may remember. How many people here have gone to camp as kids? Did you guys have a good time at summer camp?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right. So we want nothing less. So mission number 1 is to have some fun. The second thing is friends. And this is really important too, because a lot of members of free-thinking families, children from free-thinking families, may have trouble, especially if they come from more rural areas, finding people in their schools, peers in their neighborhoods, who are accepting of what their parents believe. They may face discrimination or teasing, or just feel like they have to be quiet about their family's beliefs. They may feel ashamed that their parents don't go to church. So providing these kids a place where they can just form a community with other kids from similar families is probably the most important thing that we do at camp. And that's what the kids tell us when we ask them, why did you, what was the best thing about coming to Camp Quest? I just got back from camp on Sunday night. I was at Camp Quest in the Smoky Mountains. And a lot of the kids said, just being someplace where I could talk about this stuff with other kids who weren't going to judge me, weren't going to judge my family. So that's really important. And the kids keep in touch with each other, and they come back year after year. And a lot of kids, in fact, at our Ohio camp, they've aged out of being campers. They're adults now. We serve campers ages 8 to 17. And we have 18-year-olds coming back, being on staff, who were involved with Camp Quest for longer than I've been, who've been coming to Camp Quest since 96, 97, when it started, and now they're coming back as counselors. And so that's kind of a testament to the friendships that people form at camp. So that's a really critical part of our mission. And the third part of our mission, obviously, is free thought. And so we do some activities at camp that maybe are less traditional for summer camp. In the top corner over here, at Camp Quest West in California a couple summers ago, the kids made UFO photos just with ordinary objects they found around camp, and they made pictures that looked like, oh, what is that thing? And then one of our counselors sent them off to a UFO journal. because it kind of illustrates to the campers to be skeptical of the things you see. They didn't use any fancy Photoshop, anything like that. Just through using camera angles and ordinary objects, getting the picture a little blurry maybe, getting the lighting right, you can create things that look like what they're not. So that's kind of a fun, active, hands-on lesson in skepticism. This is Liam. Liam is doing a famous Freethinkers presentation at Camp Quest West. That's from the same year. So he's holding up a card about Salman Rushdie. We want to give the kids some role models, some people that they can look up to who are skeptical of the traditional religious ideas of their time. This may include people going all the way back to Socrates. It includes a lot of the folks that Sean talked about, Thomas Jefferson. They aren't necessarily atheists. They're people who were free-thinking and skeptical people. Some of them are atheists, some of them aren't. And who also had some positive impact on the world around them. Apart from these presentations, which are about 5 minutes and we do them at meal times, most of the learning that goes on at Camp Quest happens in a really hands-on way. Like I said, camp is not about sitting and being lectured to. So our activities tend to take the form more of something like this UFO photo than something like this format where there's an adult up here talking and a bunch of kids sitting down listening. So that's our what we do at camp. Where are these camps? We actually have 8 programs now. Where to find us? The original one that I said started in Kentucky in 1996 has moved to Ohio in 1998. We meet in Wilmington, Ohio. We rent from a lovely 4-H camp there called 4-H Camp Graham, and they are fantastic hosts to us. And then in 2002, another Camp Quest started up in Tennessee, believe it or not, Tennessee. He's in Smoky Mountains National Park. That's where I just came back from. And how these other programs got started, they're independently operated programs. Folks came to Edwin and said, hey, will you come start a Camp Quest in Tennessee? And he said, well, no, but you can start a Camp Quest in Tennessee. So people come to one of our existing programs, serve on staff, volunteer, learn the ropes, and then we support them and give them advice as they get a program started in their area. So that's the second camp in 2002. In 2004, we got our first international Camp Quest in Ontario, and Camp Quest Minnesota got started. Bjorn is involved over at Camp Quest Minnesota. And then in 2006, we had 2 new camps get started in California and in Michigan. And this year, we had, well, this session has not happened yet. Camp Quest Florida is going to be our first winter camp program. It's going to meet the week between Christmas and New Year's when kids are out of school. Kids can come on their own, or they can come with their families. So it's a combination model of a kids camp and a family camp. James Randi is coming, assuming his health holds out. If not, I think the bad astronomer will be joining us, Phil Plate. And we're going on a snorkeling field trip. It's going to be pretty awesome. So that's a new program this year. Their website just went up, I think, about a month ago, and they're accepting registrations. And we had our first affiliate across the pond, as Edwin mentioned, over in the UK. You may have seen some of the media attention they've gotten. They kind of created quite a stir in the press over in the UK. And then, who knows where the next Camp Quest will be. There's a group in Texas that's working on putting together a Camp Quest Texas. This summer, they are going to hold a one-day program on August 30th, like kind of a kickoff program. It's the North Texas Church of Free Thought that's sponsoring this program. So it's going to be in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And then next year, their plan is to do a full week-long Camp Quest program, which may be an overnight camp or it may be a day camp. They're still deciding how they're going to work that out. So that's where we're located. When are our programs? So in your packet, page 45 is my handout. And our list of programs that we ran in 2009 so far is on there. But since most of our 2009 summer programs are over, I want to talk about what's coming up in the fall and winter of 2009, what's coming up in spring of 2010 and summer 2010 in terms of how you guys can get involved. We've started holding conference day camp sessions, mini camps, that are like one day or that are like the one full day, the Saturday of the conference. So folks coming to the conference can bring their kids with them and their kids can have some activities to do. We're doing one of those at the Atheist Alliance International Convention in Burbank, October 2 through 4. If you volunteer with us at the conference, I believe that Atheist Alliance will work with you to get you into other parts of the conference to see some of the conference events for free. So that's another kind of benefit of volunteering with some of these conference programs. You may get in to see other parts of the conference at a reduced rate or free. I already mentioned Camp Quest Florida coming up this winter, so they'll be recruiting volunteers for this winter. I think their staff application is up on their website. Spring 2010, we don't have anything really set scheduled except May in Columbus. We're going to do a kids program at the one-day Skeptic Camp, Skepticism Unconference, that like we did this year. And then that's early spring 2010 is when to watch our website for the applications to apply to be counselors at our summer programs in summer 2010. And then we possibly might be doing other conference mini Camp Quests. We might be doing one with the AHA again since the one this year went so well, but we haven't worked out details yet. So those are kind of some things to watch for in the spring. Summer 2010, I'm expecting that our dates for our summer camp sessions are going to be approximately the same time next year as they were this year. So you can look in your packet and see, what week in June, what week in July these things were this year, and kind of watch around those times. That's going to probably be when those locations are having their sessions next year. We'll release the dates as soon as we have them. All right, and possible other conference mini Camp Quests. So those things kind of come up as they come up. All right, so what's the next question? How? How can you guys get involved? Well, in your packet, this is the top half of the handout in your packet. So the big thing I want to talk with you guys about is volunteering. All of our camp counselors are volunteers. The camp directors are volunteers. The people who do handle processing the registration forms throughout the year are volunteers. I'm the only paid staff person in the entire shebang, and we do all this stuff. So especially college students are fabulous camp counselors. You're off school for the summer usually. You can find a week of your time to come and volunteer at camp. But we're also looking for volunteers who want to help with stuff throughout the year. So that's something to look into too. You can also sponsor a camper. I'm guessing that not too many people in your student groups have 8 to 17-year-old children. But you can still send a camper to camp with, of course, that camper's parents' permission. But what you might be noticing is maybe you have family friends who have kids who are in the right age. Maybe you have little siblings. Maybe members of your group have cousins or nieces and nephews. You might have people who are in that age range who you think might be interested. Your group can raise money to sponsor a campership. Either to target to a particular camper who you guys know and think, hey, this person would really get a lot out of camp, but I know their family can't afford it. Or you can send it to us and we can direct it to a camper in need. The other thing you can do is you can just spread the word. I have a passel of brochures here, and I have a ton more in a bag over there. So after I'm done talking, I would be happy to hand out chunks of brochures that you can pass out to people who might be interested in volunteering, in sponsoring campers, in anything like that. So spreading the word helps us out a lot. Okay, so why? Why would you get involved? Why would you give up a week of your life to come to Camp Quest? Chase after children and that sort of thing. I have sort of the top 5 reasons I think that it's a fun thing to do and it's a good idea to come volunteer at Camp Quest. The first one is you get to hang out with and mentor really awesome kids. The kids who come to camp are really fabulous. And you get an opportunity to meet these kids and have conversations with them that'll just kind of boggle your mind. So that's number 5. Number 4 is you get to do fun summer camp stuff. So you come to camp as a counselor and you still get to do archery, you get to go swimming, you get to go hiking, you get to go canoeing, you get to go horseback riding. And because you're coming as a counselor as an adult, you don't have to pay. You get to come for free and do all of these fun things. So that's awesome. Okay, so what's the next one? You get to teach and learn about topics that you love. So our programs at camp are run by our volunteer staff. So we had a counselor at Camp Quest Smoky Mountains last week. She's a new counselor. She's a college student. She is a math major. She wants to be a math teacher. And she did math and logic games with the kids. And that was really fun. They had a great time. So whatever kind of expertise you have, things that you think the kids would enjoy, those are skills you get to bring to the table and we can incorporate into the program, be those things free thought related or not. If you're a musician and you want to lead songs around the campfire, we had songwriting at Camp Quest Smoky Mountains. It was really, really fun. If you are an artist, you know, any of these hobbies and interests and skills that you guys have, those make up the program. So that's kind of a cool opportunity to do stuff that interests you and learn about stuff that interests other people. Okay. You get to bond with your fellow counselors. This is August, has a 5-gallon bucket of water poured over his head. August is my husband, for those of you who don't know that, and he's been volunteering at Camp Quest since 1999. He's actually how I got involved with camp. I think, you know, in this picture, maybe Dan and Craig are having a little more fun than August is. But seriously, a lot of our counselors come back year after year because they bond with and they make friends with their fellow counselors. You know, and they have conversations around the campfire, and you know, it's a chance to, like your student groups are, to bond with other people who share your worldview and meet other people who share your worldview who maybe don't go to your university or live in your town, and it's a great time. So that's reason number 2. And reason number 1 is you can act silly and be popular for it. You know, here we are leading a ridiculous song in the dining hall. You know, summer camp is one of those places where, like, as a counselor especially, like, the kids think you're cool, like, if you know, jump around and, like, sing songs about the banana and, like, all this stuff, right? And where do you get to do that in your regular life without people laughing at you in a bad way? So that is the number 1 reason I think that you want to come be a counselor at Camp Quest. And that is about all I have to say. My contact information is on the sheet in your packets. I have time for questions, I imagine?
Yeah.
How much time do we have?
3.5 minutes.
Awesome, cool. Andrew.
What other type, I was just wondering when you showed the picture of Salman Rushdie, who are the other, can you name some of the other people?
Oh, absolutely. So people like Lance Armstrong, people like Margaret Atwood, who's a famous author, people like the Founding Fathers, people like Socrates. We had some new ones this year that Josh did. You know, Richard Dawkins is obviously on the list. Einstein is obviously on the list. You know, we do kind of a mix of, Aung San Suu Kyi from Burma. We do kind of a mix of people the kids may have already heard of but may not realize are skeptical of religion, and people who the kids may not have heard of. And we try to kind of cover the waterfront in terms of different fields and things like that. You in the Minnesota shirt.
Thinking about sponsoring a camper, how much does it cost for a kid to go for a boys' week there?
Oh, that is a great question. The fees vary from location to location. They average about $500 for the week. Some of our camperships are full camperships. Some of them are partial. So, you know, even if your group is like, well, you know, we can raise $100. That's $100 we can knock off the fee, especially for families who are sending multiple kids. You know, having them be able to reduce the fee, especially for a second camper, can be really helpful. Bjorn.
Can you be a volunteer if you don't have previous camping experience?
Yes, you can. Yeah. You know, if you are terrified of the dark, if you're terrified of bugs, things like that.
Children.
Camp may not be an ideal place for you. So, you know, be aware of your own kind of like limitations. If the great outdoors doesn't seem so great to you, camp might not be the best volunteering opportunity for you. But yeah, you don't have to have previous experience. Yes.
Can you choose location which you will volunteer in?
Yes, absolutely. So currently the way it works, the application forms are actually separate for each camp location. If you go to our website, you'll get a list of all our different locations. Check them out, see which one is the best location for you, the best dates for you, and then you fill out an application for that camp. Also, I should let you guys know, we can pick people up at the airport. So if you're volunteering for camp, you get to the nearby airport, we will come get you and provide your ground transportation from there. Yes.
My sister has been an atheist since she was 8, and my parents are not. How do I pitch it to them? And since she's a teenager and going through that intensely jaded phase, how do I pitch it to her?
Well, we have a lot of teenagers who come to camp. I think letting her know that there are going to be a lot of kids her age would be something that would help her be interested. As for your parents, we would be happy to, you know, have them talk with some of our counselors if that would help ease their minds, or they could ask some questions that might concern them. We've actually had religious campers come to camp before, and as best as I know, they left camp still religious. So if that makes your parents feel better, that would be something you might tell them. They also had a good time at camp too. So, we definitely have that problem, and that's another reason we say children of free-thinking parents, because we recognize there are a lot of, especially teenagers out there, whose religious views may not comport with their parents' religious views, and would love to come to camp, but if their parents don't give them permission, they don't get to go. So. Last question, Dan.
Doesn't being a counselor look good on a resume?
Absolutely, that's another good point. Yeah, being a counselor does look good on a resume. More specifically on that point, one of our counselors at Camp Quest, Ohio, her name is Sarah Silverman. She's not the Sarah Silverman.
That would have been a very different kind of counselor.
So Sarah had emailed me after she'd been a counselor for a couple years and was like, hey, I'm trying to get into this particular child development program at my school. This major is very competitive. And I was wondering if you could write me a letter of recommendation. I wrote her a letter of recommendation, and I could speak directly to her experiences and the skills I saw her develop and use being a camp counselor. And she did get into that program. I have no idea, how much weight my recommendation had. But yeah, happy to write letters of recommendation that, when it's relevant and those sorts of things. So.